Welcome to Forked Up, your go-to podcast for all things ravioli, stoli, and guacamole. I'm Michelle Davis.
And I'm Matt Holloway. Today we're talking about how nearly all food styling was influenced by just one woman, a 400-ton gabagool fuck-up, and a Baloney bandit gets caught at the border.
Tale as old as time. So stay tuned, y'all. It's about to get forked up.
What the fuck is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another banger episode of Forked Up. In case y'all haven't heard by now, Michelle and I have our fourth cookbook that is being released this November. It is the first book that we have written in 5 years. Brave New Meal is the longest book that we've ever written. It also contains the most photography that we've ever done. You can pre-order it now wherever books are sold. That includes Canada and soon to be Australia and the UK. We're working on that. I know that they have the files. I don't know what their rollout is. Once we get more information, we'll talk about it.
We don't know anything.
Yeah.
But if you pre-order, guys, our secret project that Matt has been dying to tell you about, we can finally talk about. All pre-orders receive this sick-ass ebook we just wrote right here. Vice House. If you've pre-ordered the book already, you can go to our website and we have this entire page dedicated to Brave New Meal. And down near the bottom, you'll find the fields where you can enter your basic, information and where you pre-ordered and how you pre-ordered the book. And bam, you'll be redirected so you can download this gorgeous ebook.
We go over the history of Texas ice houses. You get 15 is it 15 or 16? I can't remember. I think
it's 14 brand new recipes.
You get more than a dozen. All right, should be happy with that. You get more than a dozen brand new, never before seen recipes. And because this is an ebook, we shot a photo for every single one of those recipes because we don't have to deal with the cost of printing, which is expensive.
Did. So. And you want this fucking ebook because these are recipes. These are like kind of our Southern Tex-Mex recipes that really didn't fit in the new book that we wanted to have a place for. We've got hominy hush puppies in there, cowboy cookies, hearts of palm chicken fingers, and look at this fucker. Look at this right here. Look at this. Ugh. That is our Dr. Pepper braised jackfruit Sammy with our Granny Smith slaw on top. Both recipes are in the new ebook, and you could make this shit this fucking weekend if you go ahead and pre-order our new book now, because these recipes are not going on the site. These are elite.
Yeah, they're ebook exclusive, and it is a very different vibe.
Totally different.
Night and day different vibe from book 4. We wanted to do something that felt very different. And this is, like Michelle said, one of the many secret projects that we are working on.
Yeah, and they're a little more guilty pleasure recipes. We've got 2 great cocktails in there. We've got desserts. And it's just a lot of fun, a lot of Roadhouse food, a lot of frying, which I normally don't do in our cookbooks, but we wanted to have a little fun. That's why it's a Vice House.
We explain the Vice House, Ice House thing in the just get it.
You guys are gonna love it. You guys are gonna fucking love it.
But you can only get that if you pre-order the book. The day that our 4th book drops, that ebook is no longer available. So go get it right now. We'll wait. You're not doing anything right now. You're listening to a silly podcast. Go ahead. We'll sit here in silence. Michelle and I
pull your car over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have you don't even have to go to our website, which you could do. While you're sitting here trying to pull up Amazon, trying to figure out where you're going to order the book from, you could go to bravenewmeal.com. Then it'll show you and give you everything you need to know. It'll show you where to order it from. It'll show you how to get the ebook.
But guys, what if I want to order from my local bookstore and not one of the retailers that's listed on your website?
We got you.
That's fine.
Don't worry about it.
That's fine.
You'll still get the ebook.
Don't worry about our technology. You just have to put in your fucking information. And then ba-bam, you're going to get that ebook. And again, like Matt said, that shit's going to disappear. After our book comes out, you're not going to be able to get it anymore. I don't want any DMs 5 years after the book came out.
Asking for the recipes. You're not going to get them. You're not going to get them.
No, it's not going to happen.
By the time this airs, I think there's maybe 6 or 7 weeks between now and the release of the book. So y'all have less than 2 months to collect this ebook before it goes away forever.
And again, so for the cost of one cookbook, you're getting
1.5.
1.5 cookbooks. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
That's a good deal. Go pre-order now.
The ebook is a heater. Not to like toot our own horn, but like
It is. We had a lot of fun doing it.
Our ebook looks better than some people's cookbooks.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's a heater because we got to do exactly what we wanted. We wrote the book, just Matt and myself, and our designer Nick, who's you'll recognize from all of our books. And so we got to just have a lot of fucking fun with it.
Yeah. We didn't have to go through like back and forth. Like we love our publisher, but like there wasn't like all these emails back
There
and
weren't a
forth
lot of
about,
cooks
like,
in this kitchen.
Yeah. So, but yeah, go get Brave New Meal wherever books are sold. And when you get that, you can immediately get Vice House from our website, bravenewmeal.com. Go get that shit right now. Anyways, Michelle, what is on the menu this weekend?
On the menu this weekend, we have our Hatch Chili Enchiladas, which are up on the website now. It is Hatch Chili season, y'all. This will mark the second year I was hoping to go to New Mexico and go to the Hatch Chili Festival, that I will not be able to do it, so fuck that shit. And let me live vicariously through these enchiladas. And what else is on the menu?
Also on the menu this weekend, we have our Buffalo Twice Baked Potatoes. And the reason that both of these are on the menu this weekend for this episode is because I made both of these last weekend for Labor Day. I went to 2 different parties. Everybody vax. It was all outdoors. I made the Hatch Chili Enchiladas for one party with our elotes that we promoted last week. Also on the website. Both of those were a hit. With a I was the only plant-based person there. Everyone ate it, and they were like, what is in this? This is fantastic.
FYI, guys, when the recipes I've created are where you make them and you take them to our party or, I feel like I'm a little bit there.
You are, for sure. In spirit.
Yeah, I was there in spirit through your cooking. My number one student right here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, number one.
But did everyone love it?
They were a hit. Everybody kept asking me, and it's when you're vegan, and I hate fucking talking about my diet. Everyone's like, it's those same 6 questions, and once you get past that, and I'm like, can we not talk it? Can we just enjoy Labor Day? Can we go sit out by the pool? Can we just chill?
Yeah.
No, so the Hatch chilies and the elotes were a hit. I will say the Hatch chilies I used, I probably would have pulled back the heat a little bit I think I used, because I doubled the recipe, I think I put 6 Hatch chilies in the actual enchiladas.
You didn't seed them though?
I seeded them. Yeah, they were hot. Hatch chilies got some fucking heat this year.
Not always. Oh God, I'm so sad.
Some years Hatch chilies, they can be mild. Some years they can be very fuego. So just watch out for that. Yeah.
Watch out.
And then for the other party, which was more like burgers and hot dogs, I made the Buffalo Twice Baked Potatoes, which were also a hit.
Do you guys know how hard it is to make potatoes look nice? Surprisingly hard.
Yeah.
Please enjoy that photo.
Because you got the fluff from the potatoes,
Yeah.
And I mean, they're nice and colorful, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Because you got the bright red from the buffalo sauce. And then, what the hardest part about that recipe was, is because I was kind of in a rush, is that as I'm trying to essentially, so you bake the potatoes, and then you let them cool, you cut them in half, and you got to shell them, but you gotta leave that skin intact. Is it because I was in a rush, I was trying so hard not to break the outer layer.
You ended up breaking it, or you left them too thick?
There was a couple. But yeah, that's the other way, is you could go too thick, and I think that's a mistake. I think I'd rather break the skin and but anyways, so I made the Buffalo Twice Baked Potatoes, and those were also a hit. And everyone was asking for the recipes, and I was like, badmanners.com. It's free. People, they're eating the food and they're like, oh, this is from your book. I'm like, this is free. This isn't even, this is good, but it's not good enough for the book.
Yeah. Talk about our standards.
Anyways, whatever y'all are cooking this weekend, I highly recommend checking out one of those, especially like Michelle said, Hatch chilies are in season. Just be a little bit careful with that heat. I personally I've never had a dish to this day, knock on wood, that has been too hot for me to stop eating the dish. But if you are susceptible to heat, just be wary of that. I was at one of the parties. Actually, you know what? It was both parties.
Mm-hmm.
And I watching men around food makes me anxious because men are so fucking helpless with food.
Uh-huh.
And it bothers me as a man.
It bothers you.
It embarrasses me on behalf of my own gender, like watching the men, first of all, they don't cook.
Yeah.
Like the men don't cook. And when they do cook, one of the guys was grilling burgers and he was serving them to people. And literally everybody was biting into their burger and asking to put it back on the grill because it was raw. And I like turned to my girlfriend. I was like, everyone's going to get food poisoning. Like, but even like watching men just like make their own plates, they have all this food in front of them that everyone but them has prepared. And they're just like confused about
they don't even know how to build a burger.
They don't know how to like make their own fucking food. Like, and yeah, you could see like all the women at the party, they had a plate where they had like one of everything, and all the men, it was just like a burger and a hot dog, and like that's it. And I'm just like, and it's, you know what I don't understand it is because when you think about food, you do think about it being a male dominated industry.
All the celebrity chefs.
Yeah, you think about like Gordon Ramsay, you know, you think about Guy Fieri, like, and you know, no shade to them at all, like, but it does seem to be a male dominated culture, except when it comes down to the micro level.
Yeah, if you're not getting paid for it and can't get like attention, then it's women's work.
Right. But the other side of that coin, I was in the kitchen at both parties doing dishes and cleaning up.
Where were the men?
Not a single motherfucker. And they would walk by, they'd get beers, had a couple guys lean against the counter, have full fucking conversations with me. Nobody offered to help. Fellas, what the fuck?
Guys.
And I know that like our audience is like 80% female. Ladies, I'm sorry. I'm not yelling at y'all. I'm yelling at the men.
But feel free to yell at them.
Yell at your fellas.
Yeah, yell at
them. Actually tell them to listen to our show so that's twofold. Number one, I get to yell at them. And then number two, we get more men in our audience. So
I mean, it is wild to me I talk about this every Thanksgiving, that all the women cook the fucking food and then all the guys pass out like they're exhausted from fucking eating it. And then they don't help clean up shit. It drives me bananas.
Like, sporting events like Super Bowl Sunday, don't sue us, NFL. They're extremely litigious, in case y'all are wondering. But like, yeah, there's like a giant game that everyone's like sitting around like waiting to start, or they're watching it, and nobody helps. They don't help with the grocery shopping. They don't help with the prep work. They don't fucking cook. They don't do the dishes. And then they eat. They get a confusing plate of food. They eat and then they fall asleep. And I'm so embarrassed as a man. But
what's so crazy is that, so if people came over like to our office, they would know that I cooked all the food, right? But then we go to a business meeting.
And everybody talks to me.
And everybody assumes Matt cooked it. Like, I'm like, who am I? It's fucking exhausting. Speaking of men and food, Grimace.
Of McDonald's fame?
Of McDonald's fame, who I've assumed was a man.
I
could just be assigning his gender.
Grimace.
Well, I guess the articles discussed him as a man.
Because he had that deep sort of voice that was like Kevin from The Office. Like Grimace was the original Kevin from The Office.
Okay, so an article came out this weekend. And did you know what Grimace was?
No, I just like eggplant. I mean, but there's no dish at McDonald's that has eggplants in it.
He's a taste bud.
A taste bud?
He's a taste bud.
We're gendering taste buds?
We're anthropomorphizing.
And then gendering.
Taste buds. So he's a taste bud. So there's a whole origin story on Food and Wine, all about what Grimace is. And he's the...
Is it like one of those articles? It's like 10 reasons why Grimace is going to get Me Too'd.
So Grimace lore says he is the embodiment of a milkshake or a taste bud. But all the real McDonald's heads have come out and say he's a taste bud. And this is just another problematic man and food. I just want you to know. Yeah. So there you go. Grimace,
disappointing as a man.
He is a taste bud.
Who does not identify as a taste bud. It's upsetting.
I had no idea.
Yeah. But speaking of purple creatures, you've been experimenting with some jams.
Oh yeah, end of the summer jam. Me and my girlfriend, we had a jam sesh this week.
Nope. Not rewarding that.
No?
Nope.
Yeah, I got a bunch of fruit at the farmer's market, and we did mash up a strawberry plum jam. And then I went out on my little patio garden and I cut some of the leaves from my rose geranium. So it scented the jam, so I threw it in. So I'll throw that up in the reels in a little bit, but still working out the kinks.
Fellas, y'all wouldn't even be able to fucking identify rose geranium.
No, you wouldn't.
Get in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's delicious. And, we made, I think it was like 6 pints of jam. And it didn't take all that long. It's fucking delicious. Now I'm eating toast like a god. And I'm loving it. Y'all should be jamming.
Nope. Again, not rewarding it. The only reason that I know you were doing that because I saw you posting on social.
Yeah.
So wait, do I get any of this jam or like?
That's the worst part about making jam is that you are legally required to share it. I will bring some jam into the office.
Yeah.
So at the end of summer, it's a great time to make jam because, the fruit is going out of season, but it's going to be cheap and there's going to be tons of it. And then now you can have delicious, fresh tasting jam in the dark winter months. Like, do this for December, you.
Yeah. Plan ahead.
Plan ahead. You're going to want delicious jam. You're going to wish you had preserved some plums.
Y'all have heard me talk about Past Matt. That dude, Past Matt's fucking awesome. That dude is always looking out for present and future Matt.
Yeah.
I do things for myself now that benefit me in the future. You got to play the long game, all right?
You got to reward yourself. It's like you hide little snacks around your house or like a 20 in your coat pocket so you can find it later and be like, yes, past Michelle.
You gotta be time traveling you, and you gotta look after like history you needs to look out for future you.
Yeah. You need to. It's the Matts of future past.
Speaking of history,
let's get into some food history, y'all.
It is now time for This Week in Food History.
This some serious gourmet shit.
Welcome back to the classiest segment on the podcast.
this is the classiest segment.
Thank you so
I think it's
much.
the strings. We need more strings in the episode.
Always.
We're redoing our intro music right now. Let's try to incorporate some strings.
I prefer brass, but that's just me.
I like a cello. This is me.
I'm one of those cello whores you read all about.
I'm a cello man myself.
Schliemann. Last month, the queen and inventor of modern food styling passed away from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So this week, we are going to talk about the one and only Miss Dolores Custer. She had an obit run in the New York Times last week. And so we wanted to touch on her because she was a titan in her industry, and most of her work was invisible. You may not realize this, but Dolores single-handedly shaped what modern food looks like in today's ads and cookbooks, on the cover of your cereal boxes, every cereal ad you ever saw, all modern ice cream ads, pizza.
All the commercials, every time they have like a slice of pizza that like pulls away and you get that gooey cheesiness. That's Dolores. Anytime that you see a milk commercial, anytime you see a cereal commercial, and you see them pour in the milk and it's just like splish splashing everywhere, that's Dolores. Like everything they're used to seeing that makes food look appetizing and like creates like a vibe, that's Dolores.
Yeah. Everything you understand about food and how food should look, like the standard we hold like modern food photography to, it was all created by her as a food stylist. And food stylist is work that most people don't think about. I know we didn't think about it even going into our first book. Like
it shows.
Yeah.
Go back and look at our first book. We've replaced a lot of the photography from way back in the day, but like, yeah, when you're getting started, you take a plate of food and you kind of just throw it on a table and you take a photo and you hope the lighting's okay, but that's about it.
Yeah, and which is good. Like we want our food to be instructive and educational, but we want it to be craveable, and that's what Dolores steps in. Like most food isn't inherently photogenic. It doesn't create this moment, like Matt said. It's not a vibe. As the children,
a vibe curator.
It just lays flat and boring on the plate. The food stylist's job is to make this food feel alive, to make it look delicious, like you're seconds away from the perfect bite. That kind of anticipation you get when, the server kind of rounds the corner and you realize that it's your food that they're holding.
You get like that like rush of dopamine that your food's coming.
Yeah, that's what a good photo of food should do to you. And because of Dolores, that is the standard that we have in modern photography. She was an elementary school teacher turned cook, and she worked for companies like Kraft Foods, General Mills, Campbell's, Bacardi. The list goes on. She learned to cook from watching Julia Child on TV. That's what she talked about in a lot of her interviews. And
Who amongst us?
And then she got to food style for Julia Child.
Oh, she got to work for her?
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
I would have lit myself on fire.
Modern day Little Nas X.
Yeah.
Who got fired from Taco Bell before he was a pop artist. And now what is he? His official job?
Oh, he's like a vibe curator or something.
He's like the marketing curator of like Taco Bell.
Ugh, what a
full circle.
I love it. So you've seen her work thousands of times without ever knowing it. All the modern tricks of food styling come from her kit, like her toolbox that she brought to all the shoots is legendary. She outlined it in her book, Food Styling, The Art of Preparing Food for Camera, published in 2010. And she went through all the items in her famous kit. She had syringes, atomizers, tweezers, Elmer's glue, because she would glue, she'd take off all the seeds from a sesame seed bun, like if she's doing print work for McDonald's, and she'd glue them back on with Elmer's glue so they're all facing that pleasing
and they're like
direction.
Individually spaced.
Yeah, and they're all lined up, and it's all perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
Is what she was so good at. Like your eye wasn't drawn to like the pattern of the sesame seeds, all because of her. She used hair oil and cereal milk to really make it look thick and viscousy, fishing line, emery boards. I mean, she did everything. She even made this weird contraption specifically for getting that cheese pull, like you were talking about, that would heat up the cheese in a very specific way so she get that long cheese pull, which is exactly what you want. Remember the old Little Caesars ads?
Oh yeah. And it was just like the cheese just kept going.
Yeah, exactly. She'd rig a thumbtack to her spatulas. So, in the DiGiorno ads where you pick up the pizza slice and then it pulls out and it has that cheese pull, that is all her. She would even flick a toothbrush with glycerin all over glasses so you get that perfect sweat so you can see what's in the, all of these things that you guys take in as the consumer that makes the food look delicious. She had to think about all of those signals to you. And she created them from scratch. And there was no shortage of people who wanted to say nice things about her. Quote, "Some stylists have specialties, but Dolores could do anything," said Colin Cook, a still life photographer and food photographer who shot hundreds of ads with her. However, she said that she particularly shone when it came to butters and margarines. At one point, they worked for a company that owned 11 different brands. I'm going to guess
this. Margarine?
Yeah, I'm going to guess this
Land O'Lakes?
Kraft or somebody like that. Margarine is notoriously tricky. Anything ice cream, margarine, anything melty is really, really hard to work with. Quote, "You need to be one with the margarine," he said, "because if it's a bit too cold, it won't swirl. If it's too warm, it's just going to start melting. It's a structural job," and Dolores understood that. She knew how to make it drip or swirl just right. If you wanted a pat, she might bring a hot knife to do it and just wait until she got the perfect drip forming in the corner. She would use tweezers to pull out all the hairs in the raspberries in her dessert shoots. Guys, this is craziness. She would line up all the rice in a perfect scoop of rice. So nothing was perpendicular, but nothing was the same either.
The fact that now you and I do this for a living kind of explains some of my OCD tendencies.
It's hard. And to make all the noodles tucked into the cup of ramen, she made all of this food look delicious. That perfect spoonful in in the Campbell soup commercials that has the noodle and the little chunk of chicken and all the vegetables and everything, that is all her. So next time you are making a perfect plate of food or taking your next shot for Instagram, remember Dolores Custer and realize that our whole concept of what modern food should look like is because of her invisible work. So rest in peace, Dolores. People don't realize how hard food styling is. Biscuits and gravy, guys, it looks like shit on a plate.
Let's go over some of the toughest things that you and I both personally hate. So biscuits and gravy is tough to photograph. Pretty much anything that has white sauce that we do, we have a asparagus recipe on our site that we
it has it's a tahini
dressing. It's hard not to make it look like cum.
Yes, and there's like a new cookbook coming out that we got to see the early galleys for, and there's this whole roasted cauliflower, and they put like a tahini, some kind of cream sauce on it, and it just looks like somebody
the money shot
indiscriminately came all over it. Like it looks bad, and it's really, really hard, but it's hard to do.
Soup is tough.
Soup is so hard.
A lot of the times, especially
it's just boring.
Well, aside from being boring, is like Michelle was saying that Dolores was a master of is you get that spoonful of ingredients, you know, and you want to see the chunks of, you know, the protein or the noodles and the veggies and all that. Let me tell you, when you put soup into a bowl, what does it do? All that shit goes down.
Sinks right to the bottom. Nothing floats
all
on
that
top.
goes to the bottom. So what we normally have to do is that we take the bowl and then we take another bowl that's smaller, and then we put that on top and inside of the bowl, and then we put the soup. So all the liquid does is kind of goes around.
Yeah.
And then what's sitting on top is essentially just sitting on a very shallow surface, either a plate or that bowl that we put on top.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like little weird tricks and things that you learn like that along the way. But yeah, food styling stuff. We had a prop stylist for our first book before you and I
Knew that.
yeah. And then we started doing it ourselves for book 2, 3, and book 4 is the first. Because of quarantine and so many other reasons, book 4 is the first time that you and I ever wrote a book that it was literally just you and me.
Yep.
But like the rest of the time, you have like you have designers and you have prop stylists and like
our editor was on set a lot of the time before, but not this time. But it's hard work, and the fact that Dolores kind of. I mean, she started in the industry when it was film.
Yeah.
You know, she made the transition from film to digital. She had to create all of these ideas and all this notion of how food looks good on camera from scratch. And the fact that she's not a common household name is a shame.
But that changes today because now y'all are going to remember Dolores Custer every time y'all look at a piece of food that is appetizing or has some sort of like vibe to it. Y'all are going to remember her. She did wonders for Little Caesars because I'll tell you what, Little Caesars, it doesn't taste great.
No.
You walk into a Little Caesars and you're like, hi, I'd like a pizza, please. And they're like, yeah, it's $5. It's hot and ready. And you're like, wow, $5, that can't be great. The amount of ingredients that you're using in that pizza, is it good? It is hot and ready, sir. If you want a pizza that is ready and hot, $5, please.
So I lived in a not great area of LA for a while, and at the end of my block, there was a Little Caesars, and I blamed,
still there, by the way.
I blamed like 80% of the crime on my street for it because every time like my car got broken into or like there was condoms everywhere, there was also like a bag of crazy bread. Like right there.
Too
Like,
crazy.
It was
You're getting too crazy.
Too crazy. Like, oh, when I saw the ass prints on my car, do you remember that? And there was a condom by the tire. And I was just like, guys,
you told me about it. I never saw it.
You're fucking on a 99 Honda Civic. Like, what are we doing?
Speaking of fucked up shit, let's get into this week's Total Recall.
Have you brought any fruits or vegetables onto the planet?
Welcome to Recall.
Get ready for a surprise.
If you guys are new here, this is the segment of the show where we get into this week's largest or silliest recall, whichever happens first.
Sometimes it's both.
Sometimes it's both. Sometimes there's too many very large and very silly recalls that we have to do multiple in one episode. But
what do you got for us this week, Matty boy?
There are so many every day that we can only do one a week. So last week, the Center for Disease Control announced that Fratelli Beretta Italian meat products were linked to a Salmonella outbreak, prompting a recall of over 430 tons of Italian meats. Currently, this outbreak is directly linked to 36 illnesses across 17 states, with 12 hospitalizations and no recorded deaths.
All this from a slice of gabagool.
That's good.
I finally got to use it appropriately.
Michelle's learning the audio board, and I'm not mad about that drop. We'll leave that in.
So 12 hospitals, 36 illnesses, 430 tons of meat?
Yeah, it's quite a bit. I didn't, this week I was a little pressed for time, so I did not do the tonnage recall math for y'all, but it is I think it's like 880,000 pounds or something like that.
Man, this has been a hard couple of weeks for lovers of cured meat. First, the hot dog death count, and now this.
Yeah, so this is a wide variety of cured meats. And cured meats obviously have a longer shelf life than fresh meat.
That's the whole point of curing.
Yeah, so the CDC is advising that if any consumers have any products by Fratelli Beretta, to return them for a full refund. Just don't consume them. Throw them away. Get rid of it. Because you don't want salmonella, especially not right now. Now seems like a bad time to go to the hospital.
And to get it from like shitty meat. What a way to go.
Some gabagool. Yeah, a little bit of gabagool.
So it's all salmonella though.
Yeah, and something that I actually didn't realize, but I learned this week doing the recall research, is that salmonella is almost indetectable. Any food that contains salmonella bacteria won't look, smell, or taste any different. You can't tell unless you have like a test kit, which you can get. They have ones at home. You can also send a product out to a lab, but it does take about 24 to 48 hours if you do the lab. But you could have salmonella right in front of you and you wouldn't know. Just saying.
You could be dating salmonella and you would have no idea.
You could be roommates with salmonella. You wouldn't know.
There'd be no way to know.
And it's impossible to tell. So.
Oh! You've gobbled your last ghoul.
Mixer's coming in handy. Good job, Michelle.
Good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was a good drop. And with that, let's get into some news.
So I'm up first with some brand new food technology for us. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Agricultural Research Service, ARS, not affiliated with pirates, very disappointed. ARS. And the University of California, Berkeley scientists have developed a new freezing method called isochloric freezing that works by storing foods in sealed, rigid containers, like a hard plastic or a metal, and then they fill it with a liquid like water, but it doesn't have to be water. And unlike conventional freezing methods, which the food is exposed to air and freezes at freezes solid at below 32 degrees, isochloric freezing preserves food without turning it into solid ice. Quote, a complete changeover to this new method of food freezing worldwide would cut energy use by as much as 6.5 billion kilowatt hours each year, while also reducing carbon emissions that go along with generating that power by 4.6 billion kilograms, the equivalent of removing 1 million cars from the road, said research food technologist Cristiana Bilboa Sanz, which is kind of a piratey name.
Yeah,
she's part of ours. Yeah. Not only does this freezing method have a smaller carbon footprint like she was talking about, but it also allows for more delicate produce, fruits and vegetables to be frozen, like tomatoes.
So things that we can't currently like freeze and transport.
Because freezing them into solid ice and then defrosting them makes them mush.
That's fascinating because there is so much that we can't freeze that is temperature sensitive. Like we've maybe mentioned this here, but in our office here at the garden at our office, we have a cherry tree, and they're Barbados cherries, and you won't find them in any markets because they can't transport them. The moment that they are plucked, they immediately start to spoil, so you have to almost eat them immediately.
We just stand in the garden.
That's true. When they're falling off the tree, we just get a bucket. But like if they were able to immediately freeze them and transport them, you guys would start seeing fruits, vegetables, all kinds of things shipped internationally almost overnight.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Quote, the entire food production chain could use isochloric freezing, everyone from growers to food processors, produce producers to wholesalers to retailers. The process will even work in a person's freezer at home after they purchase a product, all without requiring any major investments in new equipment, says the co-leader of this study. So not only is it good for the environment, it helps preserve delicate produce for longer, and it's not going to require a big changeover to a bunch of new equipment for people.
And it's going to eliminate food waste.
Yeah. So originally the team had been researching this new method of freezing to cryopreserve tissues and organs for transplant. So this is going to be able to handle cherries, like Matt's saying, lettuces, anything super delicate. It's going to be able to keep it alive and fresh and vibrant. So as Matt was alluding to, so much of our global hunger problem is about distribution and not about actual production. We make enough food on this planet to feed every single person on the planet.
I think the stat is like we make 2.5 times the amount of food that like everybody on this planet actually needs. The thing is that it is a distribution problem.
Yeah, and so not only would this let us waste less food who have more access to it, so that way it creates more available food, but it also allows fresh produce to be shipped farther distances, longer places, of more delicate stuff. So if you don't live in a produce producing environment, you can have access to this fresh produce for longer, because we all know that frozen fruits and vegetables actually retain almost all of their nutritional value. It's not depleted like it can be with canning or other methods. So this could be huge for just global nutrition, global food production, and global food access.
And, like you were saying in that quote earlier, it takes 1 million cars off the road every year. But yeah, in addition to this new technology, we could just take 1 million cars off the road. Just a thought.
If they just made the roads better in LA, I'd ride my bike, but I'm fucking scared.
Yeah. Speaking of idiots in cars, this week a Baloney bandit was caught in El Paso by U.S. Customs and Border with 320 pounds of meat stuffed in the center console, under seats, and throughout the car.
It wasn't a chilly week in El Paso to be stuffing meats in every place in your car.
El Paso is not a particularly chilly place, especially in the month of September. There was also 30 pounds of turkey for whatever that's worth. The alleged smuggler is a 20-year-old American citizen who had brought the meat back from Mexico and planned to resell it himself at a profit, I guess, on the Bologna black market. I don't fucking know.
How did they find it?
I was reading the
Aside
article.
From smell.
you know how they caught him. Like he went through, and that checkpoint I've been through a lot. I've as recently as a couple months ago when I drove to Texas. It's no joke. They have thermal imaging cameras. They have dogs. Like it is a massive checkpoint. So that every car has to stop at this checkpoint. Border Patrol walks up to your car. They ask you a few questions. Sometimes they just wave you through. It just depends on how their flow is going that day. They walk up to his car, they look inside his car, and they go, "What's that?" And they recognize the packaging of the Mexican bologna. Like he had it like trying to cover it with like a blanket or something, and just got a little lazy. But yeah, currently the United States does not allow any bologna to be imported from Mexico, either commercially or for private use, as it does.
I don't. None private use.
If you're going down to Mexico to get your private stash of bologna, you can't do it. It's illegal.
Not allowed.
Just FYI, because it contains pork and there is a high risk of introducing foreign animal diseases here in the United States.
In cured meat?
Yeah. So if y'all are like, that sounds weird and I've never heard that, it's not any more unusual than the European Union not importing any U.S. beef, because they don't allow any animal product that is raised on hormones due to the link between hormone-raised animals and cancer, essentially. So they have higher standards than we do here in the U.S. for their beef. So there you go.
God damn it.
So for everyone who's shaming Mexican bologna, take a look at your own beef here in your backyard.
So is there that much of a bologna markup that this guy's really like, I'm going to make my fortune as a bologna runner?
The bologna baron. Yeah.
It's so gross. It's like I can smell this
that car.
news story.
That car must have had a funk to it.
Oh.
So yeah, this is the only thing I ran the numbers on for the episode this week. Bologna sells in the U.S., depending on where you buy it, for roughly, let's just say $2.50 a pound. Okay, so he's moving this product. Let's say he has to discount it because it's black market. You're not going to pay what normal market rate is.
Yeah, I'm not paying fucking retail for street meat.
Maybe he's doing $2.30, $2.10. I don't know. Let's say for the sake of the math and to get through this segment of the podcast, he's doing it at $2 a pound. Okay, let's just say that. He's only making like $600, and the fine that he's going to have to pay for getting caught with this Mexican bologna.
I'm like embarrassed for him.
$1,000.
No, he was only going to make $600.
It's not a good turnaround, buddy. So yeah, bologna crime does not pay. I don't know. Maybe try drugs. There's a higher profit in drugs, but there's also more risks. I don't know.
I mean, he's clearly no good at smuggling. Get out of the game.
Yeah.
Get out of the game.
Man, like I kind of want to just talk to him about what is your operation, dude?
You know,
Like-
he's dating somebody who's like, you're too stupid to pull this off, John.
I don't think he's dating anybody.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
they
they're
would've-
like, what does your boyfriend do? Oh, he's a Baloney baron. He does what? Oh, yeah.
I don't have a boyfriend.
About once a week, he crosses the border, goes down to Juarez, gets a bunch of Mexican bologna, and he puts it in his car, doesn't hide it well, and he crosses the border. Sometimes he gets caught, sometimes he doesn't.
Then he just posts out outside of Publix.
Yeah, what is... You got like a Trailer Park Boys situation, just selling meat in the parking lot.
One time in Virginia, I was over at my friend Seth and Amber's house, and we're like sitting. He lives in like a quiet neighborhood, and we're sitting there, and this guy in a van. I think I've talked about this on the podcast. In a windowless van, drives up, parks in the driveway, which is wild.
Mm-hmm. It's very bold to park in a driveway that you
Also,
don't.
there's
you
like
don't know
plenty of
people.
street. Like it's like 3:00 on a Thursday afternoon, and we're like chilling at the house, and he rolls up, comes right to the door as though he's invited, knocks and goes, "Y'all want to buy some meat?"
This is actually, I don't know what this scam is. I've seen this also in Texas. I was, you could be anywhere. You could be at a gas station. You like the most recent time it happened to me is just like before I moved to LA. I was standing in a Blockbuster with my girlfriend at the time. That's
standing in a Blockbuster.
That's how long ago this was, by the way. And the guy behind us in line has a styrofoam cooler. He's in Blockbuster with a styrofoam cooler, and he leans forward to me and my girlfriend. He goes, "Y'all want some steak?" And y'all think veganism is weird.
But
This is y'all
but this
got
guy said
meat barons hawking illegal meat in parking lots and Blockbusters.
But this guy
That's
rolled up.
weird.
He said, "Do you want meat?
Just any kind of meat.
Just any kind of meat." And the house, the people were vegetarian, and I was vegan. I was like, he couldn't have got it more wrong.
The only way he could have gotten that more wrong is if y'all were like gun-toting idiots.
Yeah, but he was like, he couldn't believe it, and then he drove away.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were the only house left on his like. It was weird.
He didn't hit the neighboring houses.
No, he didn't go
Yeah.
anywhere else. He just came to the neighbor's house. It was wild. Anyway, Baloney Barons. What are we?
So black market bologna. Yeah,
It's
I
a
don't know.
thing.
I don't know.
It's a thing.
It's apparently a thing. So get used to that. Real quick before we wrap out today's episode, some of y'all may have seen this photo circulating the internet over the last couple of weeks. We've even been tagged by some of the audience. So let's talk about it.
If you're listening to the show instead of watching the video on YouTube, which we would love
Which
to
you should
see,
be doing.
we would love to see over there. It's a large banner strung up outside of McDonald's in Oregon that reads, "Now hiring 14 and 15-year-olds." And yes, we checked. It is real. It is not photoshopped.
So I looked into this, and yes, legally, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, businesses can hire minors as employees. Not only that, but they can pay them as little as $4.25 an hour. They can do that for 90 days, which is considered training, before businesses are required to pay the minimum wage, which is whatever the state regulations. Every state's different. So there are some restrictions of what the minors can and can't do. They can work cash registers. They can bus tables, clean floors. They can cook food. They can do prep. They can use blenders, grinders, but they can't mix ingredients. They can't do anything oven or baking related. They can't work inside of walk-ins, but they can enter them temporarily, which, let's be honest, this is just the go cry in the walk-in move. If you've ever worked in a restaurant, that's what walk-ins are for. They're for crying.
And that's all fine and good that they have restrictions, but I had a job at 14. Like, I started working in a bar. It was illegal. I shouldn't have been there. And there's a lot of work I shouldn't have done when I worked there, and I did it. And so, sure, whatever. But the reason these chains are hiring minors is to exploit them.
This is because they start the
adults want real money.
Yeah. So everyone's talking about the minimum wage being increased to $15 an hour. Businesses posted that they're paying $15 an hour. Actual adults are like, that's not a livable wage, even if I work 40 hours a week. So people weren't applying for it.
So now they're trying to get children.
They're going the complete opposite direction. and hiring children and paying them next to fucking nothing.
Yeah, and by the time, we finally agree to a federal minimum wage of $15 an hour, it's going to be time to increase that to 20 because we should have been doing incremental changes all along instead of trying to do these big leaps forward to catch up because we haven't made a change in 11 years. The last federal minimum wage increase was in 2009. We're talking first term Obama, guys. There's been a lot of trauma since then. A lot of drama, a lot of trauma since first term Obama.
I don't even blame him for that because he just got into office and they were like, hey man, why don't you raise the minimum wage? He's like, it took a lot to get here. I'm just gonna sit at the desk.
The recession, do we even remember? And due to inflation, it's a quarter less effective minimum wages than it was 12 years ago. And it's also 38% less effective than it was in 1968 when a minimum wage was $11.12. That's why you fucks out there who were alive during the golden age.
50 fucking years ago.
Yeah, you could work part-time during college, pay off your student loans, and then get a fucking house.
Also, college was $100 a semester.
I think they accepted broccoli as a form of payment. It was fucking...
They're like, if you work in the library one day a week and go to college for free, you don't give a shit. Just for reference, y'all, the current federal minimum wage is $7.25. So when they onboard these minors and they stop paying them $4.25, they only give them a few bucks more an hour.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know if that was your experience, but I know you worked off the books for a long time. I don't have a worker's permit in California for years.
I got a job. My first job. Well, I had worked some jobs that were under the table. When I was I think when I was 13, I started picking up trash at concerts. Oh. And the woman who paid me, she was very sweet. She paid me in cash. She made $100 a night, which at the time I'm like, I'm rich. I got $100. But if you saw a 13-year-old child picking up trash in this giant field
at 2 in the morning,
just picking up beer bottles, condoms, cigarettes, it was a mess.
Well, you should have seen when my friends' fathers came into the bar that I worked at.
They're like, what are you doing here? And you're like, what are you doing here?
Where's Denise, Bob?
Yeah. But that was my first under the table job. And then I did get a job through my dad it was my birthday. My dad gave me a tool belt that had measuring tape, hammer, chalk line, your basic toolkit. And I was I think it was 15. Yeah, it was my 15th birthday. And he gives that to me. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Dad. And he's like, you can pay me back with your first paycheck. I'm like, okay, thanks. And I know that I was 15 because when I turned 16, I shared a car for a brief period with my sister. It was an 89 Honda Accord, and it was shit brown. It was the ugliest brown.
What happened to brown cars?
I mean, come on, they don't look good.
But we used to, used to be
chocolate.
the one of 4 colors. You could get red, you could get brown,
because
you could get blue, and you could get a driftwood color.
Because the dealers are when this shit bucket starts to rust, you're not even going to be able to tell.
Do you think that's what it was?
I don't know.
I don't know. You don't see brown anymore.
Yeah, but I was, so I was 16 and I had to drive that car to my job for a little bit when I worked construction. And then my boss sold me his wife's 20-year-old Jeep, and I paid cash for it. I think it took me a whole summer of saving.
That's legit, though.
So yeah.
But yeah, I'm all for teenagers having jobs, but I am not for exploiting child labor to make up for the fact that we don't want to pay adults a living wage because we don't consider that skilled labor. Any of you office fucks, you try to work at McDonald's for one day, you're not going to even make it a full shift. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Talking about exploiting these kids, here's a great quote from franchise owner Heather Coleman. Says that the minor labor is a blessing in disguise because they have drive and they get the technology. So that tells me 2 things, Heather. That tells me, number 1, the world hasn't kicked their fucking teeth in yet. Mm-hmm. So that, they come in all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and they understand the computers better than you do because you didn't bother to learn it. And those computer systems change every few years.
And we want to pay them $4.
So fuck off with that bullshit. Yeah, but some people were tagging us in that photo. It is real. They can legally do it. And it is a shame that we are at a point now that we're paying children to do these jobs because businesses just don't want to pay adults to have livable wages.
And it's fine for teenagers to have jobs. Again, it's totally fine, but I don't want it to be at the expense of adults who need a job.
Well, they're not even just teen. Like, we're not talking 16, 17. Once you get 16, 17, all those like guidelines I talked about, all that shit's out the window. They can have you doing dangerous work. You can, I mean, as somebody who was roofing houses in August, like I was doing that shit. No, I wasn't rigged up to scaffolding or anything. I fell off many a height.
Have you ever had to run beers out to a group of drunk 50-year-old men as a child?
We are the product.
Speaking of dangerous work.
Yeah. But like what is it that we considered skilled labor and we should figure out, once we figure out what skilled labor constitutes, what is that worth to us as a society? Because fast food companies outsourcing this to minors and paying them next to nothing, and I guarantee you they're not getting fucking healthcare.
Yeah, that's another reason people like a younger workforce, is because they don't they can be on their parents' healthcare for a long time, and so they don't ask for healthcare, or they're not even concerned about it.
Yeah, the moment you're full time, you're off your parents' health insurance. Yeah.
God. So, what have we learned this week, Matt?
This week, we learned that almost all modern food styling was created by Dolores Custer, and put some respect on her name.
Yes. We also learned that cured meat crimes don't pay, ever. Ever, just stop doing them. It's weird.
It might pay. We don't know. Maybe he did this like 5 times before he got caught, and he's like, I'll pay $1,000. Whatever. I'm at a profit at this point. So
you don't know my overheads.
Yeah.
Matt and I learned that salmonella isn't detectable without a test kit.
Even we learned something in our own show. We also learned that scientists are using ice age techniques to keep food fresh.
And I think that we all learned that businesses that turn record profits would rather pay minors the bare minimum than offer adults livable wages. What's $1 billion company without child labor?
Yeah. So that is our episode for this week. Shout out to our producer, Caitlin Cleveland, who makes sure that this podcast is in y'all's feed every week and available for y'all to watch on YouTube. Again, if you're not watching on YouTube, y'all should go ahead and make sure that you are. I got to say, Caitlin is an unsung hero in the production of this show. A couple weeks ago, maybe it was 3 weeks ago at this point, Caitlin had a flight across the country. She got the files for this week's podcast. She got on her flight. She edited the audio and the video.
On the flight.
Exported it. When she landed, there was no internet where she was, and yet y'all still had it in your feed.
On time.
So, see, Caitlin's great.
Wild stuff. Wild stuff.
Incredible
also,
stuff.
Shout out to our audience. Thanks for tuning in every week. Thanks for telling your friends about the podcast, liking and subscribing on YouTube. We see those numbers going up and we appreciate it. Rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts if you guys like it. And again, don't forget to pre-order this goddamn book. We worked so hard on it, guys.
Go get it.
My life fell apart and all I had was this book. I need you to buy it.
She's not lying. She'll get into it one day, but Michelle had an especially difficult year.
Yay!
Also, when you pre-order, and again, pre-order. Don't buy it buy it when it comes out also. But if you pre-order, you get a free ebook to Vice House.
Vice House, our vegan ice house cookbook with all these great Southern recipes that you're not gonna want to stop eating. And you can make them this weekend if you go ahead and pre-order our book now and go to our website. You can go to badmanners.com. You can go to Brave New Meal. We have all the information there. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest at Bad Manners Food.
And like I said a couple of minutes ago, go over to YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, you can watch the episodes there. We have some new segments. We've been holding off on this because we wanted to get y'all switched over to YouTube, but I got to say, starting next week, we're doing a lot more visual stuff. We've been patient.
I'm sorry.
But we're starting it next week. So,
yeah. And leave a comment, would you? I would love to hear what you think about Matt and I both accidentally wearing blue on the same day.
Somebody said last week that you look like a ghost, yeah.
I am. I'm very white, y'all. Especially Matt goes out in the sun, as you can see. And so the color temperature between our two cameras.
Come down into the comment section and neg us. We don't care.
We don't care.
We're fucking used to it.
Fuck.
You can't break what's already broken. So Also, all of the recipes mentioned in this episode, our Hatch Chili Enchiladas and the Buffalo Twice Baked Potatoes, are available on our website, badmanners.com.
Stay hungry, keep cooking, and we will see y'all next week.
Later, y'all.
Cheers.